Today, I'll show you how you can use ChatGPT for your workflow automations with Zapier. For example, you can have a user fill in a form on your website, and after a few seconds, they'll receive a personalized email with a ChatGPT-generated response based on their inputs. The good thing is there are so many different applications for this, and you don't need any coding skills at all. Even if you don't build these things yourself, it will still be great to know what is possible. Before we look at this in a bit more detail, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Gregor. I worked in digital strategy consulting for the past 2 years, and on this channel, I show consultants, managers, and professionals how to make the best use of AI tools. Now back to Zapier. Rather than just solving a problem, Zapier with ChatGPT opens up entirely new possibilities. For example, by allowing very fast, personalized reactions to user input. This is, however, not just about speedy reactions. It's also possible, for example, to personalize part of a newsletter so that every receiver gets an individual message that is most engaging to him. Another possible application is to automate tasks that had to be done manually in the past. For example, think about automating messages for cold outreach. So next, let's take a look at what Zapier is actually doing. Zapier now integrates to over 5,000 apps, and that includes very common business applications such as Microsoft Teams, Slack, Salesforce, Google Sheets, and Gmail. And because Zapier now has an additional integration to ChatGPT, that means AI automation is available to all those apps as well. Now let me be honest, you need a few hours to set this up, but as mentioned earlier, you don't need any code at all. So as a consultant, manager, or professional, you can quite easily do this yourself, or even delegate this to a junior team member who will be able to set up an AI-empowered Zapier automation within less than a day. Let me show you a concrete demo how this can be done next. So let's say you and your team together have a Google Sheets file which lists all your clients for the year 2023. Every time someone enters a new row with the new client information into this database, you want to automatically receive an email containing a draft how to reach out to that client. Let me show you how this can be built in Zapier. Alright, so once you're logged into the Zapier website, you will see this screen here, and on the top left, you can create a new Zap. Then you're asked to select a trigger first. In our case, we want to have Google Sheets as a trigger, which is already here. We need to choose an event, and in this case, we want to be triggered whenever a new spreadsheet row is added. So let's go here. Continue. It will prompt us to connect with Google Sheets via our Gmail. In my case, I'm already connected. So let me quickly continue and then select the spreadsheet, which in this case is the 2023 client database that I just created before. And we only have one sheet here, so that's this one, and we can continue. Once we are here, it will prompt us to test this trigger. So let's do that. All right, then we get to the test. Here we see it correctly recognized our 3 rows that we already entered in our database that you saw before. So we can continue, for example, with this selected record A here. And then the next step is to select an action, what we actually want to do with this input. And the next step here will, of course, be to use ChatGPT to process that new row input and generate a message that can be created as a draft to then be sent to me as an email. So let's select ChatGPT here next. What we have here as event is either conversation or extract structured data. And in this case, we will have a conversation because this is the way we interact with ChatGPT and get the output that we want. We need to choose an account here. I will just choose my account and continue. It gives us some warnings and asks us to fill in this data here. And as you see, you can use the parameters from the Excel as input. So let me quickly fill this out and get back to you. All right, so what I did here is that I gave a basic message, what I want ChatGPT to do, and then filled in all the information based on that row of the Google Sheet. And of course, this information will then be updated according to the new row that is added. We also can give the user a name, and that is also coming from the row. We'll just use the first name and the last name from the spreadsheet. We can also give the assistant a name. I here just left that as assistant, but you can also give it another name. And then we can give it some instructions what to do and how to act. And here I just said he's a helpful assistant and he should convince the clients to purchase from our products. And in this case, let's say that's, for example, cars and electronics, just in this case, so we have some usable output. We then can select ChatGPT, what model we want. I think right now only 3.5 is available for everyone. Here it says GPT-4 has a waiting list, but either way, 3.5 should be more than enough for getting a first draft. The memory key here, that is not necessary. You can leave that empty, but this will allow ChatGPT to refer to this conversation if we send it another request with regards to this client. And ChatGPT can then remember all the information we gave it before. So if we have a client ID, why not give it as the memory key? It's quite useful. Here we can set some more technical parameters for ChatGPT, like the max token length, the temperature, and the top P. But I recommend you to leave the default values here unless you already have some understanding what these are about. So from here, let's continue. We now get to test this again. We can scroll down and test the action. All right, so this test here went well. We see here is our input message that we sent to ChatGPT, and then we received the answer and the generated message. Here, for example, this is, "Dear Mr. Smith, I hope this email finds you well. My name is your name." And here you find, for example, if this parameter here, you would like to have it filled in already, we can then go back up here to the actions and adjust this one and add "my name is Gregor," and then this will already be filled out next time. But for our purpose here, let's say this is okay. And we approve with all of this and we think this is great. Then we are done with this action. What we want to do next is we want to add the next step, because what we want is to then have an email that gets sent to us. So let's add one more step. And let's say in this case, we do that with a Gmail app. So here we have Gmail. All right, so within Gmail, again, we are asked to choose an event and we are going to send an email. Then we continue. We can choose our mail account that we want to use for this. We continue. Then we'll send it just to ourselves. We don't need any copy. We can, in this case, also send it from ourselves. Okay, so then the subject we already got from ChatGPT, but ChatGPT didn't separate it out as a separate parameter. So what we're going to do here is just add some bracket and say fill in from body. So this can be done manually. And here as the body, we can go into the conversation with ChatGPT, scroll down and select the assistant response message. And if we mouse over here for a second, we can also see the preview and see that this is exactly what we want. So select this. We can leave the rest empty. These are all optional parameters. And we continue. We see sort of a preview and we can test this again. And within a short time, we see this one passed. So once this is done, we can publish. And then we just still need to give it a name. Let's call this Client Database Gmail Automation. We publish it. And here we see it is now live. So let's go test this out. All right, so here what you see again is our client database and my empty inbox. So let's add a new row and see what happens. So as you see, a moment later, we already received this email. And in this email, we have the subject, exclusive offer for Creative Solutions Incorporated. You see that is exactly the company that we filled in here in the example base. And it's tailored to our offering with cars and electronics with a lot of detail. Then it refers to her as a graphic designer, which is also her job title. So you see it really individualizes the whole message and then still has some parameters to fill in here. But that's already a great starting point to then reach out to that specific person. All right, so that was one potential idea how you can build a Zapier with ChatGPT. If you look for other examples, I recommend you to check out the Zapier website that is dedicated to ChatGPT integrations. And I'll put a link to that in the description below. Next, let's look at pricing. When you use Zapier with ChatGPT, there are actually two types of cost to consider. The first one is the cost of Zapier directly, and the second are the cost for ChatGPT integration or potentially other plugin integrations if you have others that require a premium plan to work with Zapier. In the case here, Zapier has much higher costs, so let's start with that. And in the case of Zapier, they have plans between $30 per month and $150 per month. And what you get is mostly a different amount of tasks that you can then use during 1 month period. And if you calculate it out for the cheapest package, you pay roughly $0.05, so that's 5 cents per task. And the bigger packages you book, the cheaper it gets per task. And in the end, you are actually below 1 cent per task for Zapier. Then ChatGPT, in this case, is actually quite a lot cheaper than Zapier. I used probably around 100 prompts to ChatGPT, and it charged me 3 cents so far. And you can also see that on the pricing page of ChatGPT. What you should note here is that if you ever end up using GPT-4 instead of GPT 3.5, the price will be significantly higher and might be on a similar level of magnitude together with Zapier. But either way, if you think about the amount of time that this sort of automation can save you, I think it is well worth paying the price for whatever package you need. And if you run out of tasks, to upgrade to a higher package and get as much as you need. So I don't think cost should be a determining factor here if this automation is actually something that you have a use case for. And so that is Zapier, an easy-to-use, no-code solution for a software integration that seamlessly integrates with AI tools like ChatGPT or actually also Fireflies that I introduced to you in my first video. If you have any questions, I'd love to get in touch. Just book a 15-minute call with the calendar link below in the video description. I'd really appreciate if you could also like and subscribe, and good luck with your Zapier automations.